Welcome to Legacy Guides.
Hello everyone, I'm Seth. Today we're going to go over what you need to know when you first start playing Legacy, Steel, and Sorcery. As a reminder, you want to update your Windows drivers and you want to update your graphics cards to make sure you're running the latest version of the drivers. The other out-of-game thing you want to do is go to Steam, Settings, In-Game, In-Game FPS Counter, and you want to turn it on, and I prefer the top right. You can exit out, you don't need to save it or anything. With that done, we can launch the game. When you launch the game, you'll have a region selector. Your characters save between regions, and you can change regions at any time. Going into settings here, I like to turn on Show.Reticle. For display, windowed full screen works well, or you might want full screen for slightly increased performance. Whichever you pick, make sure you're running at your monitor's native resolution. I don't like motion blur, I keep it off. There's a colorblind mode if you would like to run with colorblind mode. For upscaling and anti-aliasing, follow your graphics card recommendations. Here are the different options. I'm running a Radeon 5700 XT and it runs well with FSR 3 on native mode with FrameGen enabled, and the sharpness changes the quality of the anti-aliasing. My personal preference is at 0.5. For the graphics quality, this is why we enabled the FPS counter up here. You're going to want to play with these settings in-game to find something that performs smoothly and quickly for you. This is an action combat game and frame rate matters. I like to keep characters on medium so that you can see details because their armor changes with the quality and you can tell how geared another player is when you're fighting them. And the higher this is, the better you'll be able to see what their gear is. I like to keep foliage on low so that I can see through it a little bit better. Textures, you can go to medium or high depending on your VRAM. View distance I keep on epic because I want to be able to see as far as possible. Everything else I pretty much keep on low. It's Unreal 5. It still looks fantastic on low settings, and the game is not quite optimized yet because it's in early access. If you're running the latest and greatest hardware, feel free to crank these up and test your limits. But this is what I'm running, and it runs great on hardware that's about 2 generations old. Variable rate shading on is recommended, however I keep it off. I've had some issues with my screen freezing when I turn it on, so for me I keep it off. I'm running a slightly older graphics card. I limit my FPS to reduce input lag. Audio settings, voice chat is a big one. If you're worried about toxic players and being on tilt, this game does have proximity chat. You can turn this all the way down and you won't be able to hear what they say. For YouTube recordings, we're going to keep this setting off. You want 3D headphones on and high dynamic range audio on. This is a game that you want to play with headphones and directional sound. The audio cues are massively important. You'll hear footsteps from every direction. You'll hear trees being chopped. You'll hear ore nodes being picked. You'll hear fights in the distance, and you want to know the direction and the distance it's coming from. For controls, you want to set up the sensitivity for something that feels good for you. Targeting sensitivity when you're playing a class that has targeting and a zoom in function like the hunter. This is a percentage of how much the mouse moves compared to this. I like to keep it at 1 because I don't want it to change how sensitive it is. For keybinds, I strongly recommend setting up keybinds for things that feel comfortable for you. Swap weapon is warrior only. Weapon draw and sheath is very important, and it's a core principle of combat. When your weapon is put away, you can sprint and jump without using stamina. However, when your weapon is drawn, you will use stamina for doing those actions. So putting away your weapon is a crucial tactic. You don't need to worry about use class tool, next class tool, and previous class tool if you hotkey the quick slots. Using the quick slots will activate them, and you'll be able to use them directly with the mouse buttons. Same thing with use tools. If you bind the quick slots, then you can use them directly rather than trying to go to next and previous and using them. I don't believe the game currently supports gamepad, so you can ignore this section. So with the settings complete, we'll hit log on. So you're presented with 4 scrolls and plus signs. We can hit a plus sign here, and we can choose what character we want to start with. You can have one of each character, and you can't have more than one of each character. We're going to choose warrior here, just to start, and it'll give us a brief overview of what they do. We'll choose a character name. This is your individual character's name. You have individual character names and you have house names. Your house name is shared between all of your characters, and it's how other people in the game find you and friend you and party with you. Your character name largely doesn't matter. We picked warrior for the name and create. So here's our house name. This cannot be changed, and it's your account name. So you can see here, it's asking to confirm. It will carry across all of your characters and be shown to other players, and it cannot be changed. So now we can choose our other characters. Now once you have these made, there's no way to unmake them. So make sure you pick the name that you want. You can easily change the character that you're playing by using the character select menu. A common question is, which class do I play? Pick the class that sounds the most fun to you. A warrior is a hulking brute that charges into the battlefield. A hunter uses a bow and arrow and traps to keep people at bay. A priest heals, does extra damage to undead, and has special levitating skills to allow her to float in the air and fly. A rogue has stealth, surprise, high damage, and a lot of juking and outplay capability. I would consider the rogue the hardest to master, with a lot of skill expression. The warrior becomes very tanky and can be simple to play, and the ranged classes excel in PvE. So we're going to start here with our warrior. The next thing you want to look at is the city. Currently there are 7 different vendors, and they all start at level 1. You can get them up to level 6. Starting out, the alchemist will sell you minor health potions. These are good to go into the game with because there's very little passive healing. You can see that we also start off with 9 minor health potions and 9 tattered bandages. When you enter a vendor area, there's the option to buy, sell, and craft. As you level up the vendors, you'll have more options to buy and craft. If you click on something, it will tell you the ingredients needed to craft it. The armor and the weaponsmith also have the options to upgrade, where you can upgrade equipment that you have. The enchantress has further options to socket gear under the gems tab and to disenchant items into core components. Lastly, the treasurer offers items in glint. We'll cover glint in a little bit. He also allows you to barter things. To change vendors, you can go to vendor list and pick a new vendor. You can also hit close. If you hit inventory, it takes you directly back to your character screen. The next thing we want to look at are quests. You can see here our campaign quest, Goldbrook Calls for Aid. Complete the tutorial at Goldbrook Meadows. This quest is automatically taken and you can't cancel it or deny it. You can also click on the quest board here to see 4 quests that are offered to you. These quests reset on this timer. You can accept the quest and continue it after the timer, or you can cancel it to receive new quests. You can only hold 3 quests at a time. There's never any harm in accepting quests, so we're going to read them. This one is extract from Greenwood, so we'll take this one. Collect fire powder, we'll accept this one. And then collect red mushrooms, we'll accept this one. So you can see here the quest log's full and we can't accept this quest. If we finish one of these, we'll be able to come back and take this last quest. The last tab we want to check out is the lodge. The fireplace needs to be activated by adding chopped wood. If the fireplace is not active, we can't do anything else. The fireplace already starts fully upgraded. The cooking pot will be very important and will be our first unlock, and the campaign will lead us to this. The other ones we don't really need to worry about yet. So we go back to the adventure tab and we're going to click on Greenwood Extraction, and here we have the option to pick Goldbrook instead. You can see mode tutorial. This will spawn us into our own instance that we can practice in. As a note, playing in Goldbrook does not spawn your character in, but instead a default character of the class that you choose. So we're going to go ahead and hit ready. So this is not the warrior we created, but instead a default warrior for the tutorial. You can see in the top right we have our FPS and our ping both listed. You want your FPS high and your ping low. If your ping seems very high, try changing servers to one that is geographically closer to you. At the top you can see a compass. On the compass you can see a green door with an arrow along with the distance. That's our extraction point and where we want to get to. You can see here pop-ups occur when you arrive at a certain area that tells you how to maneuver your character. Weapons are class specific. You can see this bow requires a hunter, we can use the mace. The scepter requires a priest, and the swords require a rogue. You can see on the ground here there's loose loot. Feel free to take this loot, but it's not going to return with you. Opening up your inventory with the hotkey and dragging health potions onto your tool belt will allow you to use them with your hotkeys. If they're in your backpack, you can right click and use potion. Here we have Fred that's upset that we went into his house. We can hold down the block key and we can block Fred's advances. The circular bar with pips shows how many times you can block. Some blocks do not take block pips. You can see Fred's strong attack there took one of our block pips, but his weak double attack does not. You can see as long as we have block charges, we're not losing any health. We can also dodge Fred's attack. Dodging gives iframes, and if you dodge at the correct moment, you'll turn green and you won't take damage or suffer status effects. You can see on the left, we have a green stamina circle. Dodging requires stamina. Depleting your stamina turns you orange, and it means you can't dodge again until the bar completely recharges. You can, however, still block, and you can still jump. Sprinting with a weapon out also drains your stamina. However, if you put your weapon away, your stamina will instead start to recharge, and you sprint a bit faster. This makes choosing when to have a weapon out vitally important. If we allow Fred to hit us, we'll see that our weapon is automatically drawn, and now we start to use stamina. All of the enemies have scripted attacks and sometimes attack patterns. Think Elden Ring. We can block, we can dodge. Occasionally we can just get out of the way, and if Fred doesn't hit our hitbox, we're not going to get hit by it. When looting, you can drag and drop the loot, you can double click it, or you can hold control and click. All three will put it into your backpack. Your backpack is like a mini game of Tetris. You can rotate items to make them fit in different configurations to fill all of your spaces efficiently. You can see on our warrior that we've taken some damage. This is shown on the warrior's body with the bleeding. The bleeding indicates gray damage. Gray damage can only be healed with bandages, where the red health and the transparent health bar is healed with potions. If we use our bandage, we'll see the gray wound damage will disappear. If we use a health potion, we'll see that we'll slowly recharge health. Be careful when you use a health potion. If you take damage while the potion is ticking, it will remove the effect. Feel free to stay in Goldbrook until the extraction timer runs out and practicing your fighting skills on these enemies. If you go into this little church area, there's a stronger Wraith enemy that can test your skills. When you're ready, head to the exit and extract. Extracting generally takes 15 seconds. Your stash tab is shared between characters. If I change characters here, we'll see that my hunter has access to the same stash. Each of your characters also start with their own minor potions and health bandages, as well as some class tools. If we look at our quest tab, we can see it has a little gold diamond. This means we have a quest complete. We can see here we completed the first campaign quest. Our next quest is to equip a potion and to equip a bandage on our tool belt. We can do this by going to inventory and dragging it to our tool belt. We can see the quest has another gold diamond, and we can complete. Our third quest is Adventure into Greenwood and Extract, which we'll tackle in the next video. If you click on the inventory screen and then go to status, you'll be able to see the stats of the character you have selected. Mousing over each of these labels will give you more information about the stat. Clicking the skills tab will show what skills your character has available to you. The warrior is unique in that he can carry 2 different weapons, and so he will have 2 different weapon skills. Some skills unlock at later levels. We'll go into more depth on these different skills when we do class guides. Lastly, on the traits tab, you get 1 point every time you level up your character. The maximum level for each character is 20. At level 20, you'll unlock every trait. We'll cover this in class guides. I hope you found this video helpful and informative. Please, if you've made it this far, like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps the algorithm. Our next video is going to cover extraction basics and what you should be focusing on while you're in the zone playing. Thanks again for watching.